In today's video, we're going to be running through my top transfer targets ahead of game week 10 and of course running through all the key data and stats you need to make the best transfer options this game week. Now before we dive into today's video, I just want to say that if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please make sure you are liking and of course hitting that subscribe button as well, as we are ridiculously close to hitting 10,000 subscribers. I think it's only around 105, something like that, people we need to hit that subscribe button. So obviously if you do enjoy any of the videos, the streams, anything like that, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button and of course getting your comments in as well, as I will try to answer as many as I can, or other people within the community will try and help you out. As always, let's start off taking a look at the betting data towards next game week in terms of goals and clean sheets. As you can see here, there's actually a really interesting one in there that I want to start off with first. It is the Super Sunday game between Manchester United and Chelsea. Really high projected goal numbers for Chelsea next week, so it's not the easiest fixture for Cole Palmer and for Chelsea. However, it does look like there are going to be goals in there. Manchester United have still been quite leaky defensively as well. They're still towards the bottom end of the XG conceded charts as well, so could be one that bodes very well for Cole Palmer. Obviously Manchester City the top team for next week. I don't think that's any real surprise, is it, to be honest? And again, Haaland probably still looking like one of the best captaincy options away at Bournemouth. Also very good clean sheet percentages as well there. So keeping Rico Lewis and Gvardiol, especially for that one. Liverpool as well, decent clean sheet opportunities next week, a 42% chance. So maybe once you get past this difficult fixture with Arsenal tomorrow in game week 9, it could be worth still keeping hold of Trent Alexander-Arnold, or if you went for Konate as well, as there's some decent home fixtures coming up, and I do imagine Liverpool will keep some clean sheets in those ones as well. Arsenal probably the only other standout in this one. However, we're still waiting to see what's happening with Bukayo Saka at this point, so can't really comment on that one. In terms of the rest of the games, it does look like it could be a very tasty Premier League. Again, not looking likely there's probably going to be too many clean sheets kicking about as well, so maybe it is worth starting to sacrifice some of that defensive money into our attacking lineups. Right, let's move on. Let's go and take a look at the 11FI data for the next 5 game weeks. This of course is the clean sheet percentages. If you want to go and check it out for yourself, I will leave a link in the description to 11FI's amazing website. As we can see here, despite some rocky fixtures coming up for Arsenal, they're still fancied to do exceptionally well over this period as well. And obviously there is a big fixture swing coming around game week 12. That's where a lot of people are going to be looking at wildcarding as well. So I do feel if, like me, you're not on a wildcard, it could just be worth banking transfers in 10 and 11, getting yourself a couple handy for match day 12. Then of course looking to target these teams that do have the big fixture swings. Obviously Arsenal in that period, Chelsea, I think Wolves, Brighton, all have really decent fixture swings around game week 12, and definitely something that we want to be obviously taking full advantage of. So my advice for people that don't have a wild card left is to potentially hold some transfers for the next few weeks and start looking at teams you want to obviously go and pick some players up from. Obviously if you're on a wild card, it does differ. You're probably just looking at the next 2 game weeks and looking to target them as much as possible before activating that wild card. City's next 3 as well are still pretty decent across the board. Same with Liverpool as well, and obviously we saw that with the last section as well with the Fantasy Football Hub data. They also fancy Liverpool to do quite well in this game week, so again, could be worth some consideration. Brentford are quite high up on this list, but I think today's recent performance showed their defensive frailties and the inability, and I would say like awful goals that they were conceding, just genuinely terrible goals. So again, probably a defence not really worth considering. After match day 10, United go on a nice 3-game streak, so again, maybe the likes of Dalot, Mazraoui could also be potentially decent pickups across this board. In terms of the worst teams, I don't think there is any real surprises there. Obviously Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton down the bottom, no real kind of shocks in that one. Aston Villa's next 2 are definitely difficult, but again, they do pick up around match day 12 and again have this bit of a fixture swing. So if you can obviously get away with maybe benching a Konza for the next 2, then I think it's perfectly acceptable to go and keep him and obviously have him for this upcoming period post game week 11. Right, let's go and take a look at the projected goals. Again, coming from 11FI, it's kind of the same cluster of teams towards the top, isn't it? Manchester City, Liverpool and Arsenal. Again, Liverpool's next 3 are still looking pretty decent, so getting in Mohamed Salah definitely going to be on the cards for a lot of people as well. Spurs in game week 11, obviously that's their big standout fixture, so having a Spurs attacker in that one does feel quite imperative. So if you did hold on to Son, well done. Maybe that patience will be rewarded with game week 11. And of course, Dominic Solanke, I know he's not quite been at the races, but maybe hold on to him till up until game week 12. Give him that Ipswich fixture, especially some of the goals they were conceding today. Definitely worth considering. Again, we can see this fixture swing coming up for Chelsea in terms of their projected goals as well. So that probably would be the hop-on point for the likes of Cole Palmer or potentially Nicholas Jackson as well. We're also seeing Manchester United, again, over the next few, also really starting to pick up in terms of their projected goals as well. So again, another team I would be very hot on, looking to go and get some of their assets. Keeping this video rolling, let's go and take a look at my first player that I'm going to recommend to you guys. It is going to be Aït-Nouri, but this one does come with a caution warning. He's currently on 4 yellow cards. He just has to pick up 1 more, and that's it. He's missing a game, and as you can see here, the next 5 are delicious. He keeps scoring. Wolves aren't really keeping many clean sheets at the moment, but they're about to go on this absolutely incredible run, and you do feel like Aït-Nouri is one of those players that can come away with either a 0 or a mega haul that could completely change your game week and your rank as well. Could absolutely have massive implications as well with a player like Aït-Nouri. But obviously, like I said, it now does come with a kind of caution, I would say. Maybe some of the other Wolves defenders might look a little bit more appealing this week. Again, they are, like I said, about to go on this really good run, but with him having 4 yellow cards, I do err on the side of caution. I warned you about this. I said if he picks one up maybe in the Brighton game, it's probably going to be a player that you might not want to get him unless you've got decent defensive cover. However, if he picks one up in the Palace game, you're going to miss out on that Southampton game, which is absolutely gut-wrenching, of course, if he does pick up another yellow card. So do just bear that in mind if you are looking to go for Aït-Nouri. Make sure you've got plenty of bench cover. That potentially could deal with future suspensions down the line. So that's going to be my warning. Other than that, though, I think he's an absolutely phenomenal player. The positions he gets into, massively passing the eye test. His data is pretty decent as well. So for me, yeah, real big plus for Aït-Nouri, but just watch out on those cards. Moving forward to the next player, it is going to be Bryan Mbeumo. I still can't believe this guy isn't one of the most owned players within the game. He is absolutely exceptional. Again, showed it today, and it's not too late to hop on the old Bryan Mbeumo train. Fulham away next. Bournemouth, Everton, Leicester and Villa. A decent set of 5 fixtures. Some good home fixtures in there as well. With Leicester, again, another one of the worst teams in terms of XG conceded so far this season. He takes penalties, what's not to love. Also dabbles in a couple of free kicks and corners and stuff like that as well. Did get probably a little bit fortunate with his 2 attacking returns today. However, that is what Bryan, and now that Visser is available as well, will be cooking up across this next 5. I think they have looked a little bit frail in terms of attacking kind of threat over the past few weeks, but immediately Visser came back in today. His pressing, his harassing, his running in behind, you could just tell there was a massive difference to that Brentford attack, and I feel that will make Bryan Mbeumo a much better asset as well to already go and own. So if you've not already got him, what are you doing? Take full advantage of the next set of fixtures coming up. There's still some decent potential here for Bryan Mbeumo, but this is probably going to be your last warning before obviously it does start to tail away in terms of those fixtures. But like I said, what are you doing? Because this guy is arguably one of the best players within the game. Right, very similar to what we did last week. I've kind of compiled all the top strikers, or the top cheap strikers, should I say, in the game. Because again, I know a lot of people are going to be looking in the market. A lot of people are obviously going to be making to look that switch to premiums within their sides as well. And one of the ways that you can do that is by having these cheap forwards. And a lot of people are looking at potentially going with the double up as well, because how well all these cheap forwards are doing. So let's first off start off with the 2 Wolves players. I said last week it was actually quite close. As we're starting to see here now, there is a big gap starting to bridge in terms of expected goal involvement per 90. Also in terms of those predicted points over the next 3 as well. And I do favour Cunha over this run rather than Strand Larsen. And I do feel paying that extra million is going to be worth it, picking up Cunha in my personal opinion. We're starting to see a big gulf in terms of data, in terms of importance as well for the side as well. I do feel like Cunha is one of those players. The penalty appeal, as always, is one of the big deciding factors for me. And I think for 6.5 million, you are getting yourselves a real gem of a player. He's definitely one that was on my radar. I would have loved to have got him in this week. However, circumstances have changed. It's probably going to be more likely we go and pick him up in game week 12 and do miss out on that Southampton fixture, which is a little bit of a bummer, but still an absolutely cracking player to go and get in your side, and I do prefer him over Strand Larsen at the moment. In terms of Calvert-Lewin and Jimenez, they're currently playing right now while I am recording this game, so I don't think it's really fair to kind of comment on those two. For me, Calvert-Lewin, if he does blank again in this game, I would give him the Southampton game. They look very, very ropey at the moment, so they obviously would be, for me, a team I probably still would be quite hot on. So I still think that's a pretty decent one to obviously go and pick up. So no issues with that one. Raul Jimenez as well. Again, yeah, I think the next few are still pretty decent. Brentford, Palace and Wolves, and I think as well, now the fact that Muniz is out for 2 months, it probably means his minutes are actually quite secured. I did say this in a few videos last week as well. I do feel like he's got his confidence back and is the Raul Jimenez of old. So again, if he looks tidy in the Everton game, definitely another player to go and consider for me personally. In terms of players I probably would be a little bit less cold on, it's probably going to be Welbeck, Wood, Delap, and probably Jamie Vardy, that all fit into this camp where, yes, they've had some decent starts, but at the same time, their fixtures are honking. Like, especially Chris Woods, after the West Ham game, Newcastle and Arsenal isn't a great set for Forest either. And I do feel by that point, Cunha will be on the market and will be purring with that Southampton game as well. So I do not feel like this is the right time to be hopping on Chris Wood. I know he's started the season on fire, but for me, it's probably finding the next Chris Wood is where we want to be, rather than chasing some points with Chris Wood. And the fixtures just aren't quite there for me either. Same goes for Danny Welbeck as well. I do feel he's an absolutely phenomenal player. Again, Brighton's fixtures pick up around 12, so if you could bench him for the Liverpool and City ones, that is completely fine. But again, probably a player I wouldn't be recommend bringing in this week. 2 difficult fixtures. Then, of course, we've got Evan Ferguson starting to enter the scene again, so will start to impact Danny Welbeck's minutes as well. Delap didn't even start today's game. Again, the fixtures are falling away after Leicester, so if I did own him, I probably would play him for the Leicester game. It's a really, really important game. He showed how important as well he is for that side, coming off the bench, grabbing a goal, hitting the post as well. But as we can see here, the worst XG per 90 as well on this list. So for me, Liam Delap is going to be a very, very easy avoid. And then the final player is going to be Yoane Wissa, a player that I brought into my team, and I was very, very strong on him there in the last section as well. Obviously, talking about the link-up play that he has with Bryan Mbeumo. He had a mad 10 minutes where he scored pretty much 2 goals. You'll see it on Match of the Day or with the Sky highlights if you live in the UK. Definitely could have been given 2 goals. Again, the next set of fixtures coming up for Brentford, the next 5 are absolutely stellar as well. Some great home fixtures. They've obviously got to go and play Leicester. And as we can see here, I know he's obviously played reduced minutes compared to some of the other players, but that expected goal involvement per 90 is an absolute joke. Genuinely a joke at 0.92. And he did put up very, very similar numbers in terms of expected goal involvement last season as well. And when this guy is fit and available, he is an absolute machine. I was surprised with how many minutes he actually played as well. I was probably expecting around 60, 70. Went on to play the full game. So I think that bodes really well as well for future investment into Wissa as well over the next few weeks for me. So I think that's looking a really, really, really tasty option in terms of the cheap striker market. Right, let's finish up today's video. Let's, of course, take a look at predicted points, where potentially we should be looking at in terms of players. I do feel this is a really good barometer to obviously be looking in terms of investment for future game weeks as well. Haaland, Salah and Palmer at the top. There's a big drop off then from those 3 to all the way down to Saka. Again, like I said, it probably is worth making that switch over to a free premium structure. I do feel it will be the fixtures that Salah and Palmer have in 12 that is definitely helping them to boost in terms of their predicted points. And like I said, I do feel like a lot more people are going to be looking to move to this free premium structure over the next few game weeks as well. Quite a lot of forwards in here. Isak, Havertz, Watkins and Wood. Like I said, Villa's fixtures around game week 12 take a big upturn, so maybe Watkins will be back on the menu. Same with Kai Havertz and Arsenal. Chris Wood, I probably do think it is the next 2 that are going to be shining through, but again, Fantasy Football Hub's model absolutely loves him over the next few weeks, as it's done for most of the season as well. Bryan Mbeumo, we've obviously spoke about in today's video, some great sets for him. Solanke, another option, and some of the other Spurs boys, Kulusevski and Maddison. Again, 2 options that we have spoken about with at the start with the 11ify data, seeing that game week 11 fixture as a really, really tasty one. And then obviously Cunha, Wissa and Raul Jimenez. Again, another players we just covered in the cheap forward section. The Fantasy Football Football Hub predicted points model also rates these guys very, very highly to go and do some very, very special things over the next few weeks. That was the predicted points and of course my transfer targets for game week 10. Like I said, we are closing in on 10,000 subscribers, so if you do enjoy the video, make sure to like it, comment, and of course hit that subscribe button. But thank you very much from me, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in game week 10.